My friends, there comes a moment in your life when you realize that fear has dictated far too many of your decisions. It has whispered in your ear when opportunity knocked. It has tied your hands when courage was required. It has convinced you to stay quiet when your voice was meant to rise. And for years, you have allowed this quiet, subtle, invisible force to shape who you are. But today, right now, we reclaim something powerful. We reclaim you. Becoming fearless does not mean erasing fear. It means refusing to bow to it anymore. Fear is a story you've been told, sometimes by society, sometimes by past wounds, sometimes by your own imagination. But every story can be rewritten. You are not bound by that narrative. You are free to decide that today marks the birth of a new identity. Confidence is not a personality trait granted to the lucky. Confidence is a skill, a buildable, trainable, learnable skill. And the moment you understand this, everything changes. Dangerous confidence comes from showing up when you don't feel ready. Speaking when your voice trembles and stepping forward even when your knees shake comes from proving to yourself again and again that you can do difficult things. And here is the truth. Your environment either strengthens you or suffocates you. You cannot grow into your highest self while staying surrounded by people who cling to your lowest. You cannot rise when the hands around you keep dragging you back to who you used to be. Surround yourself with people who inspire courage, not comfort. Growth rarely happens in comfort. Becoming unshakable means mastering your emotions, not suppressing them. The strongest people in the world still feel fear, still feel doubt, still feel pain, but they do not surrender to those feelings. They acknowledge them, breathe through them, and then act anyway. That is emotional leadership. That is emotional power. If you truly want to become fearless, you must be willing to let go of the weaker version of yourself, the version that hesitates, overthinks, waits for permission, or seeks validation. Reinvention requires honesty so raw that it may sting. It requires courage so deep that it may shake you. But it also offers freedom so profound that it will redefine the way you walk through this world. You were not born to be fragile. You were not created to live half alive. You were built, with all your imperfections, scars, and storms, to rise. So today, choose courage over comfort. Choose growth over fear. Choose the version of yourself that walks into rooms not to be accepted, but to express the truth of who you are. Become fearless. Become unshakable. Become dangerously confident, because the world needs the strongest, boldest, most awakened version of you before you become fearless, unshakable, or dangerously confident. You must first confront the quietest but strongest force in your life, your inner voice. This voice is not loud. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It questions. It lingers. And if you don't take ownership of it, it becomes the invisible barrier between who you are and who you are meant to be. Confidence does not begin in public. It does not begin on the stage. It does not begin when people applaud you, praise you, or validate you. Confidence begins in silence, in the private conversations you have with yourself. Every day, you wake up with two versions of you fighting for control. One is powerful, courageous, ambitious, hungry. The other is fearful, doubtful, insecure, and small. And the winner is always the one you listen to. Most people spend their entire lives being dragged around by the weak voice inside them. The voice that tells them, "Don't try, you're not ready. What if you fail? What will people say?" This voice is not your protector. It is your prison guard. Think about a tree. You cannot walk into a room with power if deep inside you know you've been abandoning your own goals, your own dreams, your own standards. You cannot speak with authority if your own heart knows you have been negotiating with your excuses. True confidence comes from alignment. Your words, your actions, your values, and your behavior all matching each other. Confidence is not about being perfect. It is about proving to yourself repeatedly that you don't quit on yourself. When you say, I will wake up early, and you do, that builds confidence. When you say, I will read today, and you do, that builds confidence. When you say, I will stop responding to negativity, and you actually stop, that builds confidence. These small victories compound. They stack. They strengthen you. Because confidence is created through repetition. We lose confidence not because we are incapable, but because we make promises to ourselves that we never honor. And your mind remembers. Your mind keeps score. It knows the truth, and it cannot be deceived. This is why people who appear fearless are not fearless at all. They are faithful. Faithful to their habits, their values, faithful to their plan. Faithful to the future version of themselves that they are actively creating. Dangerous confidence begins when you say, I will no longer disappoint myself. It begins when you stop abandoning the commitments that are essential for your growth. It begins when you choose to become someone you can trust. You want to be unstoppable. Start by being reliable. You want to be respected. Start by respecting your own commitments. You want your voice to carry power. First, let your actions carry weight. The world reacts differently to a person who trusts themselves. There is a posture to them, a calmness, a grounded presence. They don't need to shout. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need validation. Because when you trust yourself, you don't fear the world. When you trust yourself, you don't shake. When pressure comes, you stabilize. You anchor. You rise. Confidence is simply this: who you say you are and who you actually are become the same person. When those two identities merge, when there is no longer a gap between intention and action, between promise and behavior, between desire and discipline, you become dangerous. You become unshakable. You become a force that cannot be manipulated by doubt, fear, opinions, or circumstances. Confidence is not external, it's internal, and it begins with the promises you make and keep to yourself. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. Brick by brick, action by action, choice by choice. And the most powerful truth you can ever embrace is this: your identity is not fixed. It is formed by the actions you repeatedly take. If you want to become fearless, unshakable, and dangerously confident, you must stop living from the identity that was shaped by your fears, your past failures, and other people's opinions. You must begin constructing a new identity through courageous action. Even when your heart beats fast, even when your hands shake, even when doubt whispers in your ear. Because courage does not replace fear. Courage walks with it. The weak version of you, the one who second guesses, avoids, hides, or waits, was created by years of choosing comfort. But the strongest version of you, the unstoppable version, will be built through years of choosing courage. People always talk about thinking differently or believing differently, but the truth is nothing changes until you act differently. Courageous action is the tool that reshapes your identity from the inside out. When you take action despite fear, you send your mind a new message. I am someone who follows through. I am someone who can handle pressure. I am someone who moves forward even when I'm uncomfortable. With every courageous choice, your identity sharpens, your confidence deepens. Your posture, your energy, your presence, they all shift. You begin to recognize yourself again. You begin to trust yourself again. And once a person trusts themselves, they become unstoppable. But let's talk about the real challenge. Fear will always try to negotiate with you. It doesn't go away just because you decide to be strong. Fear will whisper reasons to delay. It will remind you of past failures. It will make you compare yourself to people who seem ahead. It will repeat the same tired lead. You're not ready yet. But here's the truth most people never learn. You become ready by doing it while you're not ready. Action first, confidence second. That is the formula. Think about the most confident people you know. They didn't magically wake up that way. They built their confidence by stepping into situations where they didn't feel fully prepared, but they did it anyway. They kept promises to themselves. They practiced discipline even when they weren't motivated. They stopped waiting for the perfect moment because they finally understood that the perfect moment always appears after action, never before. Every time you push yourself, even a little, you grow. Every time you challenge yourself, you evolve. Every time you do the thing you've been avoiding, you become more powerful. Confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations in the mirror. True confidence is born from the evidence you create through consistent action. When your mind sees what you're capable of, fear loses its grip, doubt becomes quieter. You begin to walk differently, not from arrogance, but from alignment. You know who you are. You know what you've survived. You know what you can do. Rebuilding your identity through courageous action also means breaking the old stories that once held you hostage. Stories like, I'm not good enough, I always fail, or I can't do things like other people. Those stories aren't truths. They are habits of thought. And the fastest way to break a mental habit is through new behavior. If you want a stronger identity, take stronger actions. If you want a fearless mind, make fearless decisions. If you want unstoppable confidence, keep showing up when it's uncomfortable. Your identity is not a prison, it's a construction site. And every courageous action is another brick laid in the foundation of a new, unstoppable you. Fear does not disappear when you ignore it. It does not dissolve because you pretend to be brave. Fear shrinks only when you walk toward it. Slowly, intentionally, consistently. Confidence is not something you feel, it is something you build brick by brick, moment by moment, decision by decision. And the strongest, most unshakable confidence is born from your willingness to face what makes you uncomfortable. Every fearless person you admire was once terrified. The difference is not that they were born bold, it's that they refused to let fear be their master. They leaned into the discomfort. They challenged their limits. They exposed themselves to the very things that shook them. Not all at once, not recklessly, but deliberately. You don't have to jump off cliffs to become fearless. You don't have to do something extreme. Fear is defeated in small, controlled exposures. If speaking scares you, start by speaking to one person with intention. If rejection terrifies you, start by asking for something small, even if the answer might be no. If failure haunts you, attempt something where failure is possible, but not catastrophic. The goal is not to overwhelm yourself, but to stretch yourself. Confidence grows the same way muscles grow, through tension and recovery, challenge and adaptation. Every time you step into a moment that scares you, you send a message to your brain, I am capable of more than I believe. Every time you take a step, even a tiny one, the weak version of you loses power, and the strong, unshakable version gains momentum. Think of your confidence as a flame. If you shelter it too much, never exposing it to wind, never testing its strength, it becomes weak, fragile, dependent on perfect conditions. But if little by little, you let that flame experience winds and storms and in small doses, it grows stronger, steadier, impossible to extinguish. The flame doesn't fear the wind anymore. It dances with it. That is what controlled exposure to fear does for your spirit. Too many people wait for the fear to go away before they act. They wait for courage to show up. They think confidence appears magically when everything feels right. But confidence is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite. You earn confidence by doing the thing you don't feel ready for. You earn fearlessness by walking into the unknown instead of running from it. And here is the truth many people avoid. If you keep dodging fear, your world gets smaller. Your opportunities shrink. Your potential suffocates. Fear grows bigger every time you obey it. But your life expands every time you challenge it. Your world becomes wider, your possibilities greater, your spirit stronger. Let yourself feel uncomfortable. Let yourself be unsure. Let your hands shake. Let your heart race. Let your voice tremble. None of those are signs of weakness. They are signs that you are stretching, evolving, entering the territory where growth lives. Fearlessness is not the absence of fear. It is your decision to walk anyway. And as you keep stepping, your brain learns, I can handle this. Your body learns, I survived this. Your spirit aims, I am stronger than the fear that tried to hold me back. Soon, the things that used to terrify you become easy. And the things that once felt impossible become your new normal. That is how unshakable confidence is built. Not in a single moment, not in a grand gesture, but in the daily decision to face what frightens you. Your fear is not your enemy. It is your training ground. Walk toward it deliberately and consistently, until one day you look back and realizes the version of you who once trembled has now transformed into someone powerful, rooted, unbreakable, and truly fearless. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is a doorway. A threshold, a signal that something on the other side of that emotion is meant to grow you, expand you, and shape you into the person you were always capable of becoming. The only reason fear feels so overwhelming is because you've been taught to run from it, to avoid it, to silence it. But the truth is this: fear loses its power the moment you walk toward it with intention. Every fearless and unshakable person you admire did not start with confidence. They started with trembling hands, an uncertain heart, and a mind full of doubts. But they chose to walk anyway. They chose movement over hesitation. They chose courage over comfort. That is what separates the extraordinary from the average. The decision to step toward fear instead of shrinking from it. When you step into your fear, you reclaim your power. You tell your mind, I lead this life, not my insecurities, not my anxieties, and not the stories I've inherited from the past. You teach yourself that discomfort doesn't destroy you. It strengthens you. It teaches you resilience. It reveals your capabilities. It helps you build a backbone that whispers, I've survived worse. And I'm still standing, because here's the truth most people never realize: if fear isn't a warning to stop, it's an invitation to rise. You fear the gym because you fear judgment. You fear starting a business because you fear failure. You fear speaking up because you fear rejection. You fear new opportunities because you fear not being enough. But if you never challenge those fears, you remain imprisoned by them. You stay stuck in a version of yourself that is smaller, quieter, and more fragile than you are meant to be. Fear is a mirror. Whatever scares you often reveals exactly what you need to pursue. Fear of failure, it means there is success waiting for you. Fear of rejection, it means connection and courage are on the other side. Fear of the unknown, it means an opportunity is calling your name. Stop trying to eliminate fear. You don't need to. You don't even want to. Fear will always exist, even when you are strong, brave, and accomplished. The goal is not to be fearless. The goal is to become someone who fears nothing enough to be stopped by it. That is where true confidence is born. And confidence is not loud. It's not arrogance. It's not pretending. Real confidence is quiet, deep, unmovable. It is the internal knowing that I can handle whatever comes next. And the only way you earn that kind weight of confidence is by walking into situations where you don't feel ready until you prove to yourself that you are. So today, make a promise to yourself: stop negotiating with fear. Stop waiting for the moment when you feel brave enough. That moment will never come on its own. Courage is not a feeling, it is a choice repeated over and over until the feeling catches up. Life will always present you with two doors. One marked comfort and the other marked growth. Comfort feels safe, familiar, predictable. Growth feels scary, uncertain, risky. But every powerful, unshakable, dangerously confident version of yourself is standing behind the door labeled growth. Open it. Walk through it. Even if your voice shakes and your knees tremble, because the moment you step into your fear steps back.